It is so funny to go on social media on a random day and you'll see a woman just out of the blue saying, Gerald Levert could have had it all. It just kind of like reminds you that, sexiness and, sex appeal is not a one size fits all situation. I mean, Gerald Levert had black women of all ages going absolutely nuts. And 20 years after his passing, they are still mourning him. What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Stevens, your boy here on the Groove Line again on a Monday. I already did an episode, but I've been listening to Gerald Levert songs all day because, of course, today is the 60th anniversary of Gerald's birth. He was born July 13th, 1966. Unfortunately, passed away on November 10th, 2026. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of his passing, too. Time flies. But I've been listening to Gerald songs all day, in between work and everything else that I'm doing. And one song in particular took me back to college in such a funny, funny way. So we're going to go back to the Stroke of Genius album, which came out in the fall of 2000. I was about to say 2023. That'd be impossible. Fall of 2003. It was co-produced by Gerald, of course, and his writing partner, Tony Nicholas. And there was one song that certain radio stations waited until after dark to play because Gerald sort of was feeling some kind of way on this song. And that is You Got That Love, Call It a Night. And it's so funny the way the song starts off. There's this nice little guitar part, and Gerald just goes, baby, baby. I mean, it's like, okay, so we thinking he's about to beg, but no, he's talking about how this woman has that, it's so good, I don't deserve the kind of love. The girl I'm calling in sick the word kind of love. The sweaty funk you don't kind of love. That's what you got, that call it a night kind of love. And when you're 22 years old, about to finish up college, and just as horny as all get out, because that's what 20-year-old, 22-year-old boys were at that time. And I was a 22-year-old boy. So listening to that song used to make me laugh in some respects. But then as I, became of age, I had already, discovered the joy of not in the joy of sex and not in a book either. I was very fortunate in that regard that I'd already had some prior experience. So I started thinking about, you know, a couple of experiences prior to that. I mean, at 22, 21, 22, you usually think that sex is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it doesn't. It doesn't get better than actually doing it. But then, of course, you find as you get older and you meet different people, and you know, things get better as you get older, and sex is one of those things. But when you're 22 years old and you're fresh off the boat in that respect, that song just spoke to me in a way that just it's funny the way Gerald sings it, because I mean you could tell this brother is literally having flashbacks. He's talking about he contradicts himself in the chorus. Is like, girl, slow down, I'm about to bust kind of love, and then the next breath, the don't stop girl, get it kind of love. It's like that kind of sex. I think if you've been fortunate enough to be on this planet long enough and have had physical and emotional and intimate chemistry with somebody, that you've had that sort of feeling where it's like, okay, wait, okay, no, go. So I just thought about that song and it just made me laugh. But it also was important to note that Gerald was 37 when this came out. Now, as I'm turning 45 in September, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Um, you always think of old people talking about sex as being something kind of like, why? And again, I was 22 and Gerald was 37 when this album came out. So I'm like, yo, Gerald done flipped out, man. These old people be going crazy. Then I became one of the old people. That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. You have to, just keep on living, as the elders say. Keep on living. And now that I am, coming up on the second half of my 40s, I get that now. But back then I was like, yo, Gerald is tripping. But what was funny was, as a bigger dude, because I was like 400 pounds in college. So I was very insecure about my weight. I was very insecure about my looks. And there was this dude, this singer who was Eddie Levert's son from Cleveland, Ohio, who was a wide load himself, but the women loved Gerald Levert. The women still love Gerald Levert. It is so funny to go on social media on a random day and you'll see a woman just out of the blue saying, Gerald Levert could have had it all. And I'm like, well, shit, that's how you feel? And then, you know, it just kind of like reminds you that, sexiness and, sex appeal is not a one size fits all situation. I mean, Gerald Levert had black women of all ages going absolutely nuts. And 20 years after his passing, they are still mourning him. Like I left a reel of Gerald performing answering service, which is my personal Gerald Levert favorite. I love you. Hope you get this message. I don't deserve this. Talking to your answering service. That's my favorite Gerald Levert song as a solo artist. But I posted a reel of him doing that on Showtime at the Apollo, and women were like, "Rest in peace, my teddy bear." And I'm like, "Dang, Gerald really had him. Had him. He was pulling him." I mean, that just says a lot about, you know, again, sexuality and sex appeal is not a one size fits all kind of thing. Like, and I think that's interesting that women, we tend to think, I mean, some men, I'm not going to say all of us, but a lot of men tend to think of women as being very superficial when it comes to looks and different things. And then you see some guys, and for God's sakes, I'm not saying anything negative about Gerald Levert's looks. Like, Gerald Levert was a clean cut big dude. He was somebody I should have aspired to instead of being on my Eeyore junk when I was in college. I digress. But yeah, Gerald Levert was a clean cut, handsome, big dude and had the women going crazy. And then you see some dudes who are not as handsome as Gerald Levert and women still flock to them. It's unexplainable. I mean, women, I think that's probably something that I learned as I got older, that women have different sort of touch points when it comes to attraction and, sexuality and, sparks flying and all of that good stuff. But it's just funny to think that Gerald Levert, 20 years after his death, is still one of the prime, sex appeal magnets in R&B. Let's not forget the talent. I mean, the brother wrote and produced his own stuff. He wrote and produced stuff for other people. I mean, let's not forget the Rude Boys jam. It's written all over your face. Every time you hear it's written all over your face by Rude Boys, you can't help but smile because it's just one of those songs that just puts a smile on your face. And Gerald Levert had a piece of that. He had a piece of one of my favorite Patti LaBelle songs of recent years. Well, not recent years. It's almost 30 years old now. If the shoe was on the other foot. So Gerald Levert was a talented dude, but he was also, just someone that women just flocked to. That's why he was so successful for as long as he was, because he just went to the shows and sang to these ladies, and the draws just started flying off. Goals, man. Goals. It's that simple. And hopefully, wherever his spirit is, I hope he's at rest. I hope he's at peace. I hope he knows how much we miss him down here, how much he is loved by us music fans and the women who are music fans that would have given Gerald a piece, shall we say. But yeah, I just wanted to, hop on real quick and talk about Gerald Levert, man, on his birthday. One of the greatest R&B performers of his generation. We lost him way too soon. Thinking of Eddie Levert and his family on this day. And just rest in peace, Gerald, man. Just one of a kind. I just had to talk about You Got That Love because that song has had me in, stitches for 22 going on 23 years. And as I got older, I understood the urgency of a man saying, I'm calling in sick to work because I am not leaving this woman's side in this bed, buddy. Been there. Finally, guys, I got older, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and a lot more. That's going to do it for this ride on the Groove Line. Greatly appreciate you wonderful people for tuning in. Contact information will be in the description below. If you want to talk about your favorite Gerald Levert song, you can. Don't forget to like and comment on these videos because as you know by now, your boy talks back in the comments. So thank you guys for riding with me on the Groove Line, and until the next time we ride, may you find the groove or may the groove find you.